I was just poodling around in YouTube. At the moment I noticed that Australia are having a real go at America. I was trying to see what's on the flags, but I don't see double eagles. And they're having a pot at him because he goes one and then he goes quiet, then he changes his mind and he has to think about something to say. So let's listen to what they say about him. Oh, and just before we get going, Joe Biden has blue eyes and the person we keep seeing on the television has brown eyes. So what is that telling you? He has blue eyes. Look it up. It'll tell you he has blue eyes. But we keep seeing a man with brown eyes on the computer games.
Simple words out. Maybe I'm having a mini stroke as we speak. Cognitively impaired US president. We saw his worrying performance. I don't know if you saw this earlier in the week where he struggled to answer a simple question from a shopkeeper. There's a reason why he normally has cue cards with answers to questions submitted by pre-selected journos. And today we had this malarkey. The president appears to forget his first reason and then claims credit for bringing Osama bin Laden to the gates of hell, despite being against the raid that killed the terrorist. Have a look at this.
We went for two reasons. One, to bring Osama bin Laden to the gates of hell, as I said at the time. The second reason was to eliminate Al-Qaeda's capacity to deal with more attacks in the United States from that territory. We accomplished both of those objectives.
Oh, Joe, that's just not right. According to Barack Obama, you were against the raid. If Obama had listened to you, Robert O'Neill from SEAL Team 6 wouldn't have shot Osama bin Laden. Joe weighed in against the raid. That's what Obama wrote in his memoir. But old Sleepy Joe is rewriting history yet again. Oh no, I want a replay of that pause. That is just delicious. Did you? Yeah, let's just have another look at Joe just freezing and then coming up with the cover story.
We went for two reasons. One, to bring Osama bin Laden to the gates of hell, as I said at the time. The second.
The next bit is the same sort of thing, really. I think they all think that everybody wants Trump in, not Biden. And then they get into this. Now, the Australians are being told this. That, you know, could be war with China here and Japan will defend. Right? Unbelievable. I notice this is what they do. They get you listening to one thing and then slip, slap, they're slipping all these things in. But you might not have, you know, it's one thing after another. You start off over here and you end up over there. They're not, you know, a lot of the time they just stick to the bit they're doing and then suddenly other times they're just slapping all this information in. Anyway, and then all the changes that are happening here in the UK. Anyway, let's listen to the video.
Donald Trump's election win back in 2016 shows that 57% of Americans do not think Joe Biden is fully executing the duties of his office. Just 36% think he's leading his own policy agenda. To discuss this and more, from Sydney, co-host of Outsiders, James Morrow, and from Sydney, Executive Director of the Centre for Independent Studies, Tom Switzer. James, these numbers confirm what we've been thinking all along. Biden's a figurehead in office, he's not in power. Who's really running the show?
Well, that's a really great question, Pete, and I think the American people, and in fact, I think everybody around the world would like to know the answer to that question. I have a suspicion that it feels like a sort of a late Byzantine kind of court situation there, where you have lots of different factions at play, all trying to have control of the agenda. So you would have absolutely an Obama faction, that wants Biden's administration to essentially be their third term. You'd have Kamala Harris's people there, who are all trying to take control of things from the president, although we've seen them not really do too well with that, with some of their border debacles. And you'd have probably other power groups within the White House as well. But it's pretty clear that from everything Joe Biden has been doing and saying that he's not running the show. I mean, we saw just the other day, he actually needed cue cards and note cards to deal with a pre-prepared question from somebody. It's just unbelievable.
Tom, I've got to say, the pollster here is reputable. Those numbers are high. It's the majority of Americans. I've worked in government. I'm not anti-Biden because I don't like the Democrats. I've watched him closely, as I'm sure you have. He doesn't look compos mentis. Honestly, doesn't look compos mentis. What's your assessment?
Well, you have to remember he did campaign as a mainstream centre-left Democrat. But in power, it's quite evident he is a Trojan horse for the increasingly activist left wing that dominates today's Democratic Party. So I can see why a lot of those Americans in the middle who voted for him feel cheated. On the other hand, you have to remember America is consumed by big divisions, toxic polarisation, self-doubt, and there's a widespread sense that things are badly off track. If you look at all the available public opinion polling, it shows that trust in American institutions has fallen. This goes beyond left and right, goes beyond Trump and Biden. I think it's a cultural crisis, notwithstanding the fact that America still has a lot of wonderful attributes, including the fact that it's the most powerful nation in the world and it has a very good higher education system, despite the increasing intolerance on university campuses.
Yeah, but what about his mental acuity, Tom?
Well, look, the same thing was said about Ronald Reagan many times, but Biden's a lot older than Reagan was. I mean, Reagan was elected when he was 69. Biden is in his late 70s. And he's not really as sharp and sound as you'd want in a commander-in-chief, but I don't think we need to press the panic button quite yet.
Yeah, it's worth watching, though. It's a worry. Donald Trump's taking on big tech, James.
Yes, so this is a really important thing that's happening here. Now, Donald Trump, we don't know what he's going to do about the next presidential election, but he quite clearly wants to get back at big tech. This is a big problem for Republicans, who many mainstream ones weren't considered to be strong enough in their fight against big tech when he was there in office. But I'll tell you what, the American people are on his side. And if I can, read you a few numbers from a poll that's just come out, Rasmussen, 47% of American voters think that big tech actively supported Joe Biden. Democrats, by a 3-to-1, think that they supported Biden over Trump and were able to swing votes that way. There's a big concern that since big tech has protection under something called Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, they can basically do whatever they want and be both a publisher and a platform. But people are saying, no. This is now like the phone company. They've got to be, a neutral broker. They've got to be a town square. They've got to respect the First Amendment. Your telephone company can't cut you off because they don't like what you say. And that's exactly what these outfits like Facebook and Twitter and some of the big tech search engines are doing right now. So it's offending American sense of fair play. Trump is on a winner with this campaign. I don't know about in the courts, but certainly politically.
Yes, and remember, Trump's removal from social media was quite unprecedented. And it's just going to backfire, as James has just said, because it'll just cause more Republican voters and politicians to rally around Trump.
Tom, you know the region well. Japan's come out and pledged that it'll join the US if needed, if it gets to that point, to defend Taiwan in the event of a Chinese invasion. This is a big deal.
Well, it is indeed. And Japan coming out so strongly in favour of Taiwan is very revealing. I mean, it's a reminder that the Australian anxiety, and despite what you hear from the critics, it's not hysteria or panicking. It's a genuine anxiety about China. This is widely held around the region. Kevin Rudd, among other critics of Canberra's China policy, He always says in the past year that Australia should be more like Japan, more nuanced and tone down the bombast and rebuild trust with the Chinese Communist Party and hedge between Washington and Beijing. Well, the critics are wrong. Japan sounds more hawkish on China than Australia. And Japan's not alone. If you look all around the region, you've got India, Vietnam, the Philippines, Thailand, so on and so forth. They're increasingly anxious about China's bullying, and those states want the United States to help lead efforts to check Beijing's regional ambitions. So Australia is not alone here.
James, just quickly, I've been playing some images tonight out of Britain. They haven't even got to Freedom Day. They're a lot freer than you guys are tonight are in Sydney. They've also got a benefit for vaccination. I mean, they're saying if you're vaccinated, you're not going to have to self-isolate. You're not going to have to do quarantine. I think if you want to drive vaccination in Australia, that's what has to be on the table, isn't it?
Well, that's exactly right, Peter. You know, I've had both of my Pfizer jabs, and I am subject to every single restriction here in Sydney that everybody else is. You know, I think we've got this variant of COVID here. I call it the Australian variant. You don't get COVID. It still makes you miserable, and the vaccine doesn't actually do anything to fight it.
James Morrow, what a lovely note to end the night on. That is very, very astute. James Morrow, Tom Switzer, thank you for your time.
Is it that they just don't see it? Or is it that they're just part of the game and they're just putting stuff out to draw your attention to things that aren't really happening? This whole bit of footage of him he's stuck in. All of this, he's stuck in. I've just taken a few bits of video from the little section I just played you to show you that he's not real. He's not really there. And this whole thing about his mind, what's that about? His blue jacket, look, his blue jacket. Let's go back to that bit. It's gonna move. Where is it? His blue jacket, look, is in the hedge. There. Because someone has sloppily done it. Look at that, look at this. Look at how his face changes. Recognise anybody else? Yes. This is when he turns into other people. If you hear any noises, it's my dog under the table snoring away. Sorry about that. But anyway, just look at it. Look how many times he changes. I think he's just superimposed on top of someone else, doing the walking and talking, and they just superimpose. I don't even know how they do it. It's like that person there, if you look at it, you'd say that guy has a beard. Oh, change. Where's his blue eyes? He has blue eyes, but you don't see him with blue eyes. You see him with brown eyes. I don't know, that just don't, look like someone else. But anyway, we're going on to another. Oh, wait a minute, no, we've got a bit more. Oh yes, a bit more. Look, just superimposed. Anyway, on to the next bit now. Now he's talking to the troops, or is he? Who's talking to the troops? Who's talking to the troops? That could be Obama. That could be anybody. Could be Trump. And that robotic arm, computer arm, Who does all this? And look at the people in the background with the black faces. I don't know what that is. I tried to find it. I might go and try and find it again, but look at their faces, all blacked out with the robotic arm. Because this is a cartoon. They've stuck that person in. And I find it very worrying, considering, I don't know what that is. That's just coming. I might try and see if I can find that again. But it's very worrying after what they're talking about. Military again, wars. And you can't even see the person. Look at it. It's all cartoon. It's embarrassing. Right, so it's before that bit. I'm going to have to take another look. Look at their faces. They've got blacked faces. With a man without a face. Anyway, that's my take on that bit of video. And you mean to say that they can't see this? I can see it. Anybody can see it. I couldn't find where I found that, where I took that bit of footage of that weird face, but just look. That's what I've blown up. The robot thing. Cartoon thing without a face. Anyway, thanks for watching.